Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to do a very similar video to the one I did last Friday. I will link that above and below in case you haven't seen it yet. But I'm going to do the alternatives to the top 5 baby girl names of 2017 this week. And I'm very excited, and just in case you haven't seen last week's video where I did the same thing but for baby boy names, I'll give you a quick rundown of the rules I set for myself. Rule number 1 is that I have to like the alternative. Rule number 2 is that I have a range that each one of my 3 alternatives should fit into. The first is still popular names but not as popular, so somewhere between number 50 on the list and number 200 on the list. The second choice is kind of my sweet spot area, and that's anywhere from 2 to 500. And lastly, I have my more unique or rare or uncommon names, depending on which word you want to use there. And that's anything below the top 500. And I realize that different people would put those place markers at different points, but those were just the numbers I chose to work with this go around. So the very first name on the list I'm going to cover is Sophia, number 5 in the United States last year. And my very first alternative that I chose for Sophia was Lydia. Has a very similar feel and sound to it, and it ranks at number 85. My second alternative is Ophelia. Begins the same way and ends the same way, but the middle's a little bit different, even though you do have that same F sound. Ophelia is a Shakespearean name, and it ranks at number 416. And I'm sorry if you see me glancing down, I have my notes right here in front of me, and I just want to make sure I'm not getting the numbers wrong. And the third name I have as an alternative for Sophia is Gloria. Gloria is an intensely classic name, has very similar origins, has that same strong O sound, as well as the E at the end. I think all 3 that I've suggested had that E at the end. Gloria itself sits at number 561, far less popular than Sophia at number 5. The number 4 baby girl name in the United States this past year was Isabella. And my first alternative for Isabella is Arabella, which sits at number 157. You can still call her Bella if you like, there's still only the 3 letters in front of Bella, but Arabella, what do you think? I actually really like Arabella. My second choice for an alternative is Freya. It's shorter, it still ends in that sound, and it just sounds like a very strong but sweet name, doesn't it? Freya sits at number 305 last year. And I think this one is slowly creeping up the charts. It was going pretty fast for a while, but it's starting to slow down. So if it's one that you like, I'd get in there before other people do. And the last alternative I have for Isabella is pretty unusual, but it's a beautiful name, and it's one that I have on my personal list of names. And that's Luella, and it sits at number 905. You could call her Lou or Lulu or Ella. Either. I personally am a fan of Lou, but you do you. I love the name Luella. I think it's very strong but sweet and it's elegant all at the same time, and it's really not a very common name. Moving on to number 3. The number 3 name in the United States was Ava. There's so many reasons you might like the name Ava. You might just like the simplicity of 3 letters. You might like the matching letters on both sides of a V. You could just really like that strong V sound in the middle. But my first choice as an alternative for Ava is Eva. It's very, very similar in sound and spelling, but Eva with that E on the end actually ranks at number 73. 70 spots lower than Eva. Feel free to sit on that for a bit. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But my second alternative for Ava is very similar again, and that's Ada. And I love Ada, and Ada is definitely due for a comeback and is starting to rise now, but currently it sits at number 321. So what do you think of Ada? And my final alternative for Ava is Aurelia. Quite a bit longer, but you still start and end with that A sound, and it sits at number 677. And it just brings to mind so many pictures of sunshine. Just sunshine and rainbows. You know, that kind of warm, glowy feeling you get? That's what I think of whenever I think of Aurelia. The second most popular girl name in the United States was Olivia. Olivia has been popular for several years now, and I can definitely see why. It's starting to slow down as far as the number of girls named Olivia, but number 2 is still, well, too popular for a lot of people, so I wanted to make sure I got alternatives for that as well. And the very first alternative that I have for Olivia is Valentina, and that sits at number 94. And Valentina is quite a bit different, but you still end in the A sound, you have that strong V sound, and I just like it. It gives me a very similar feel to Olivia. Valentina. What do you think? Is it a little bit too different? Or is different kind of the point? My second alternative is Sylvia. Sylvia is not nearly as popular, and it sits at number 488. You get that strong V sound, the ES sound, you even get the L sound in there. Gosh. But I think Sylvia is very classic, it's definitely due for another rise, and I think Sylvia could be a phenomenal alternative for Olivia. But if a big reason you like the name Olivia is that O sound, then the name Octavia might be the alternative that you're looking for. Octavia is really starting to rise, and I think that might have something to do with the success of the 100. I can confess that I personally have not seen very much of it. I'm just at the beginning of season 2 right now, but I am seeing a lot of the names that are very popular right now and are quickly rising are in that show, which I find really interesting. If you just really like names, you might like the 100, just for the names. Just putting that out there. Octavia sits at number 598, and if it's one that you like, I would definitely go for it before one of your friends does. And finally, the number 1 girl name in the United States for 2017 was Emma. Emma is a beautiful name, and I think is on the list for so many people. So many, myself included. And I have to wonder if that links back to Friends way back when. If you don't remember the episode where Monica talks about how she's always wanted to name her daughter Emma, you should watch it. Partially because it was a really good episode and I really like Friends, and partially because it was such a sweet moment. And you'll get a feel for just how long Emma has been a popular name. But my first alternative to Emma, in all of its classic glory, is Clara. Clara is beautiful, and if I'm being very honest, I recently met a woman named Clara, and she was so sweet and so smart that she just makes the name sound even better to me now. Clara sits at number 96, so it is in the top 100, which might still be a little too popular for some people, but I think Clara is definitely a great alternative for Emma, and it's something that everyone will know how to say and spell just seeing it the first time. My second alternative for Emma is Ember. It's a little bit trendier, but you get a lot of the same sounds, and I just think it sounds really awesome. Ember sits at number 289, and I think it's kind of this generation's form of Amber, but I really like Ember. I think it especially works if you think your daughter has a shot at being a really fiery personality or even a little bit stubborn. But also if you're really into astrology, if she's a fire sign, Ember could definitely work as well. And my last alternative for the name Emma, and so my last name for this video, is Esme. Esme is such a classic name. It starts with an E, you get the M sound in it, and it's also only 4 letters. Esme is, I think, kind of a forgotten classic, and I think it definitely took a bit of a plunge there because it is associated with Twilight, but I think it's definitely been long enough now that that tie is more or less forgotten, and kids now don't know what that is. They just don't. And Esme sits at number 585, so it is on the upper end of that scale, but I think it was one of the better alternatives for Emma that I could find that wasn't Emma plus something like ElaynaLayne or ElaynaLayne, because while that is a beautiful name, bonus name I suppose, I felt it was too close to Emma to suggest as an alternative, just like how Olive is a great alternative for Olivia, but it might be a little bit too close for me to mention as a proper alternative in this video. But what do you think of the alternatives I chose for these names, and what alternatives would you want to add? Because I definitely left out some good ones. I made lists of about 20 alternatives for each of these names and only shared 3. So I'd love to hear what you think, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!